We say to girls,
What is your podcast?
you can have ambition, but not too much.
Gonna be yapping and cackling away?
Naturally.
If I looked feminine, I would not be taken seriously.
I'm just a girl.
It's amazing how much you can get if you quietly, clearly, and authoritatively demand it.
Oh, the day of travel is just always so much chaos. And, there were so many things that I wanted to do before leaving on this trip. And I just had to accept that I couldn't do it all. And that's honestly been kind of the theme of this year is I started the year with there are so many things that I want to do. There's so many things that I'm going to do. And then I got burnt out. I got burnt out trying to do all the things. And I was like, oh, okay, I can't actually do all the things. And I can't be all the things to all the people. And I just found myself just so scattered to the wind at one point. Like every piece of me was just in 1,000 different directions. And I was like, okay, well, let's try to slowly gather ourselves back in and figure out what actually matters and what's the most important thing to put my energy towards and be okay with not getting everything done. So that's kind of, so even now going into my last trip of the year, I'm still learning this lesson of it's okay if everything doesn't look exactly the way that I originally intended for it to be.
I was gonna say, this just sounds like life.
Right.
Not even just whatever project you're working on or business thing you're working on or whatever you're trying to get done today. This just sounds like life.
It's just life. Ugh.
And if it doesn't sound like your life, please DM us and let us know what you do differently.
Can you please be our life gurus?
Well, this is super fun because this is our last time that we're recording in 2024 of the year, and you're getting ready to go on a trip because it's the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
The year's winding down, so
yeah. And if we stay on top
fun.
of things, this will be the last episode of Two Girls in the Market for 2024. If
it really will be. I mean, we might get it out at 11:59 p.m. on the 31st of December.
I think that's probably the day it'll come out. Yes.
Yeah. And it might be in the last time zone where it counts.
Hawaii.
But we're going to do it. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. Whatever day you're listening to this, it might be the new year. There might be aliens invaded by the time you're listening to this. With the way the world's going, who knows, really? So that'll be interesting. Aliens haven't come yet, by the way, as of when we're recording.
Right now.
Actually, that's not true. Sorry, can you tell I've been on TikTok too much? But I'm Amber Haley. Welcome to Two Girls in the Market, coming to you from the Big Island of Hawaii.
And I'm Rebekah Daniels, coming to you from the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington State. But when this episode comes out, I will be in Florida, the Sunshine State. I am escaping the big dark. Amber, it's so dark here. I can't drive at night.
Big dark.
It's aggressive.
It feels a little bit sad in Hawaii. So
Really?
I can imagine the PNW has a little bit of the seasonal depression, as I like to call it.
It's true.
It's the darkness. It is hard. Some things I like about it, but that's rough. Florida will be such a nice change.
It will be. I can't wait. But yeah, this is our year in review episode. We started this podcast. I can't believe that we started this at the beginning of this year because it feels like it was so long ago in some ways. And this was February of 2024. We started this podcast, and here we are doing our first year in review of just kind of life. What are some of the highs and the lows of this year for us, and what our goals are for 2025.
This is going to be an interesting one. I'm trying to think when we started. I'd have to go back and listen to some of our first episodes, but I'm because it was at the beginning of a year when we were recording, I'm wondering if we talked about goals and how it compares with my actual, maybe I don't want to know actually, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I put all of my goals into an Excel sheet. So I know some people, they love to do vision boards. They love to do these passion planners. There's a lot of different ways to set yourself up for the year. I've been seeing a lot of people that have the big ass calendar, and that's the calendar for the entire year. or other people, they have like every single month mapped out with little post-it notes. For me, I needed something that was accessible on my phone. So I put together a big old Excel sheet with a bunch of different tabs. You know, I love that Google Sheets.
You and your Google Sheets.
It scratches my brain in all the right ways. And so I put
Okay.
everything on there, and I went and I reviewed my goals, and man, Amber, I was so disappointed in myself.
Oh, see, you know what? This is why I usually don't set very many goals. And if I do, I just call them experiments. But I will say for 2025, I did sit down for several hours and make a business and life plan.
Ooh, I love it.
And I made it very, very simple. I used the teaching from actually you and I both work for the same company, Real Broker, and our company president does his business planning, and he keeps it like very simple and focused.
Mhm.
So it's not like a 30-page thing that you'll never get to and you'll be disappointed at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So that seemed to really help. I used AI a lot too to do it, which was kind of fun.
Ooh, how did you use AI on it?
I have a couple custom GPTs that like help me with like organize my life and my business, and I just kind of asked it for a lot of feedback. Then I would just kind of articulate a bunch of different ideas and throw them in there and see what it spit back out at me. And then I had it go through my whole business planning all over the place note-taking thing with me for 3 hours, and I was just typing things in, and then at the end I was like, please organize it. And it organized it all pretty for me and made a little chart
Oh.
and everything. So that was kind of nice because my brain is so all over the place, as people listening to this podcast can probably tell.
Yeah, did you guys realize yet that we both have ADHD? If you have
ADHD
it,
girl. Like,
do
speaking
you think
of,
this is normal? You might actually have ADHD.
Yeah.
I'm not going to diagnose you, but
but speaking of, before I got so distracted, you were saying you were a little disappointed.
I was disappointed.
But is there anything that was maybe a win, even a small win when you look back at your year? Like a big win or a small win professionally, personally, that we can celebrate?
Absolutely. So when I initially looked at it, I was disappointed because I was like, man, I didn't reach my business goals. And that was kind of the main, like, oh, I didn't sell as many houses as I wanted to sell. And I didn't launch this particular project that I was wanting to launch. But then I looked at the other goals that I did accomplish, and I was like, oh, well, I did a lot over here in this area of my life, and I did a lot in this area, and I made a lot of improvement over here. And so I started to feel a little bit better about things of like, okay, maybe I didn't accomplish 100% of my goals. I don't even know if I did 50% of them, but I did see that I accomplished some. And so a lot of it was more in my personal life. So some things that I did accomplish in my life in 2024 was I kept all but one of my plants alive.
Oh, wow.
Which-
Congratulations.
I'm happy about that, especially because I've come across so many people this year who are like, I can't keep a houseplant alive. And I was like, I've kept all of mine alive, and they've had babies, and I've been able to gift those babies to other people. And so
Aw.
that was an accomplishment for me as a person who I thought I had a black thumb and I would kill every single plant. I saw my family 8 times this year, which was
wow.
huge because my family is all on the East Coast. And I was even able to go and see my cousins in Texas who I haven't seen since I moved to Washington. So I got to see a few of them twice this year, which was really, special to me. It was huge in my heart. We went to 2 conferences this year, REBB, Real Estate Video Blueprint,
Mhm.
and also our company conference. So, I did a lot of travel this year, took a lot of time off. It's probably why I didn't accomplish all my business goals, but I got to spend time with family and I got to spend time with people. And for me, that was more important. So I built a lot of really good personal connections this year. And so
Oh, that's important.
I'm like, okay, I can look at my goals and see we only have so much time and energy to put towards anything. And I definitely am an overachiever when it comes to goal setting. It's probably not super realistic, the goals I set for myself. But I did accomplish those things. And even though I made a goal of doing 200 workouts in the year and I did not accomplish that goal of 200 workouts, but I did walk an average of 2.1 miles per day. And I
Oh,
was more
nice.
active this year than I was last year. So to me,
That's a
that's a
win.
win. I'm not the 5 a.m. gym girly or 4 a.m. I know there's a lot of
Oh, me
people
neither.
in our groups who do the 75 hard multiple times a year, and that's not me. Maybe this
No, and
2025, maybe I'll do 200 workouts in the year, but I was just more active this time, and that's a win.
that is such the hard thing I think about goal setting too, because you listen to all these different like motivational things, and like sometimes I'm just really anti goal setting, but then other times they're like, no, your goals should scare you. They should be, pick your goal and then double it.
Mm,
Have you ever like been to one of those like talks where they're like, it's like, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't know. Beck and I survived this year. Like sometimes that's the biggest win, is just like surviving. So congratulations to everyone listening. You also survived
yeah.
2024. If you made it through without like crying once on your floor, teach me your ways. But we all survived, and that's a great thing. I don't know what the answers are. I don't ever do goals like 75 hard, or somebody just asked me the other day, are you going to do like, what do they call it? Dry January? And I was
Mhm.
like, no, I don't do anything like that in my life. By the way, if you struggle with doing stuff like that in your life, my suggestion is to just stop doing it.
Yeah.
My motto is, if I can't do something every single day and commit to it every single day for the rest of my life, I am not going to do it for any season of
Mm.
my life. And that's how I have balance. Yeah, I just don't do that kind of like goal setting where it's very, very structured, because I know that it always leads to disappointment with me,
Mm.
because because I have ADHD and I am constantly creatively flowing, and I get really passionate about something and then move on to the next thing. And I've had a lot of like challenging times over the last few years. So yeah, I just am never that hard on myself with that kind of stuff. But I am trying to set up some metric with my business planning for next year. It's like the most I've probably done
Mm.
as far as goals and a plan, but I have to pretty pare it down.
I
So
think it
we'll
does
see.
help to have like some sort of roadmap or idea of what you're moving towards. I don't think that typical goal planning or goal setting works for people with ADHD. Doesn't work for
Yeah.
us. And that's okay. And I think that was kind of one of my big takeaways this year is, well, I mean, it's been a takeaway many years, but it keeps getting applied to different areas of my life. But what works for other people doesn't necessarily mean it works for me. And that's okay. It's okay to
Yeah.
beat, go to the beat of my own drum and do things my own way. My goals, my life, my business aren't going to look like everybody else. And I'm very okay with that, especially now after this year of I tried a lot of different things and I made a lot of audacious goals, big audacious goals that as I was going through these different processes and trying these different things, I realized, you know what? This doesn't actually work for me. I don't actually enjoy this. And this isn't actually where I want to spend my time or my energy. And so I'm
Yeah.
just going to take a step back from things and people. And I'm ending the year with a lot of joy. So I'm happy about
Aw.
that.
Let me see. What were my wins this year? Professionally, I think a big win for me was serving on like the leadership advisory board of our company, and getting to end the year and start and doing it again next year. That has probably been one of the big milestones for me, just strengthening my leadership skills and getting a lot of opportunities and kind of giving back to my realtor community in that way, like finding a way I can really do that. So that's been pretty cool. I think on a personal level, I didn't burn down my house trying any TikTok recipes. So that's a small win too, because I have kind of started cooking
Ah,
a little bit this
wow.
year.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah,
For those who don't know, Amber does not cook. We've talked about
I'm not
cooking
great at
privately
it.
before. She's like, I make smoothie.
Yeah, it's been on my like goal list. So I haven't burned down my house. I guess as far as like the other markets go, for the record, I did try to put myself out there romantically this year, which is a
Mm-hmm.
big deal for me. Um, And I would say, dating in Hawaii is like really, really tough. It kind of feels like trying to find Wi-Fi in the middle of the desert. But I did learn a lot from trying, and I had some fun. I had some heartbreaks, but I don't know, not finding love this year and not finding my biggest like success in business this year. It's like it has taught me big things still. Love isn't just about romance. It's about showing up in your life for yourself and your friends and your family, and about being kind to everybody around you, even when you feel like the world is like trolling you. and, and so I didn't find the one this year, but I found a lot of love in people around me. And so that's a win I'll take any day.
I love that.
Yeah.
We're in our healing era. I definitely feel like while we have not been on the same exact love dating journey, there have been some parallels and some similarities in some of our experiences. And I know, there's a lot of things that I thought I had healed from already and kind of dealt with, and you don't realize how things are going to affect you, how past trauma that you've healed from, how it comes back when you're put into similar situations again. And it's stuff that you don't have an opportunity to handle them or to heal from them further until you're in those situations. And so that's definitely been there's definitely been a lot of healing that's happened this year. And there's been, dealing with a lot of relationship and dating anxiety that I didn't realize was still lingering from before. And that's been a big part of this year. But after a lot of work over the last few months, I can happily say, I'm in a much better place now than I was before. There was definitely, for me, middle of the year, and you can usually tell if I'm going through a hard time because I'm not posting on social media. So if you see big drops in time frames between my posting, this is a little insider secret. I'm not well.
That's probably a really common theme for a lot of
Yeah.
people. And I will say on the flip side, probably a lot of people are opposite too. Like if they're posting a lot, like they might not be well either.
Yeah. They've actually done studies where they're like, oh, the couples who post the most together, like they're always posting selfies, like daily selfies and all these different posts. It's overcompensating for some other issues that are probably happening. And it's,
Yeah, I'm sure it usually is.
I mean,
Not all the time, necessarily.
not always. But we all
but
know
a lot
those
of
couples.
times.
Let's be real.
Yeah, for sure. It's like they're trying to convince themselves. Half each is like the rest of the world. But
social
yeah,
media
that's
is not
kind of
reality.
funny.
Let's never forget.
No, it is definitely not. That's a good lesson for everybody to learn. Did the year teach you anything?
Yes. Yeah, this year it was definitely, I kind of touched on it before, but it's where is my time and energy best served? And so there were things and people, friendships that I had to take a step back from because it wasn't, I don't believe in 50-50 on relationships, but there's certain people that are energy vampires. We heard about this at our conference.
This has been my biggest lesson this year is learning how to combat the same thing.
And so it's about having some boundaries up and just I tend to try to be all things to all people because I'm too giving of myself at times. And then I end up getting burnt out. And then I'm not able to show up as my best self for my clients or my friends or my family or for myself. And I tend to become a recluse. And so again, when I say I'm not doing well and, you'll see the drop off in my social media, a lot of it is because I burnt myself out on other people's issues.
Yeah.
We all have those friends who there's always some sort of drama. There's always some sort of crisis that's happening. And I get it. Sometimes we go through seasons of just one thing after another is happening. That's not the person I'm talking about who's just going through a rough patch. It's the person who is not willing to take personal responsibility for the state that their life is in, but they want to call and complain about it all the time.
that you have to cut off those vampires.
Yeah. You give the
Well, you know what?
advice and they're like, oh, I just don't care to listen to any of this. I don't want to fix anything that's happening in my life. I just want to complain about it. I don't have time for that in 2025. I'm so sorry. Please find somebody else.
Mhm. You know what I learned that kind of even takes that a step further that I struggle with is sometimes there's people in our life who maybe they aren't doing anything wrong, maybe they are taking accountability, but they're just not, they're still draining your energy anyway.
Mhm.
Like sometimes it's not anything, they're a perfectly good person, on paper, but it's just not serving you. And having to cut those things out of my life is sometimes the hardest because I'm like, well, they didn't do anything to me. Like I'm a caring person. I like having friends. And that's something that I've been learning, especially toward the end of this year is, you have to put on your own oxygen mask first, right? Before you can help somebody else. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with my energy. I have to take care of myself. And if I realize it's like a net red and it's not because they're doing anything or like not taking accountability or anything, like they're not doing anything. It's just not meant for me, this energy drain.
Yeah.
And that's tough.
That
But-
that is one of the tougher bits, but it's
Mhm.
sometimes we just don't have bandwidth for the other people. I like how you put it. You have to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
And ideally, our friends will understand if we don't have space for things sometimes. I know there's been weeks where I think I've talked about it where I haven't spent time in the group chat or I've waited a couple days to text you back because I was like, well, I just don't have the brain space for this today, whether it be about the podcast or something else. If it's an emergency, I can make space for it. But most things aren't really an emergency that need my attention, And so
Yeah.
it's,
Definitely.
I don't think it's caused any tension between us. This is the time to air your grievances, Amber. The Jerry Springer moment of like, tell me.
I didn't know I wasn't ready. I don't feel like I have grievances really to air. But
Good.
this would be great for ratings if we just did it like live. Maybe we should
I know, right?
live stream it. No, I don't think I have anything really juicy. I think I've just realized I also distract myself from taking accountability in my own life or making my own life better or my own transformation by distracting myself with other people and giving my energy to them. And that's been a theme in my life for a very long time and one that I'm trying to break. And I think for us as women, it's especially hard, right? Because we have such like a nurturing, caretaking energy and tendency.
Mhm.
And a lot of us, I would say that's a very feminine trait. And so it feels difficult for us to like sometimes put ourselves first. Like, it feels like it's a selfish bad thing when it's really for the greater good. And so that's something that, wow, that's like a huge, huge thing in my life right now. I can feel though how much better I feel like ending the year, having made progress with that though. So that's something I'm really excited about. It kind of makes me feel a little bit like, oh, I'm a bad person, or like, why am I such a psychopath that I'm just like cutting out this stuff that doesn't serve me? And I realize I'm not at all. And if I saw somebody else doing that, I wouldn't feel that way about them. It's just, I know this about myself that I do the same thing you do, where I like at my own detriment put others before myself.
Yeah. We can't be all things to all people. So
No, and to be honest, I don't even think it's really a selfless act because we're trying to fulfill something in ourselves by doing that. Like, I don't think it's like, oh, we're such wonderful. We are great people for
Yeah,
sure. But I
come
just
on.
am saying it's not like what we're telling ourselves it is. Oh, well, we're just like good people that just want to give to other people. It's truly this need to heal something in ourselves to be like that kind of a person. And I'm even realizing too that not only is that not our job, it actually hurts other people in our lives because it holds them back from their own journeys. If we give more of ourselves than we are meant to and we take on more, it can become this really kind of like toxic codependency. Not everybody needs everything from us. Who do we think we are?
yeah.
Kind of. But that's been a healing thought for me, realizing that when I let go of some of the things and relationships in my life that are no longer serving me, it's actually in those people's best interest too.
Yeah. It's growth opportunities.
Even if it's
For all of
even if
us.
it's letting go of a friendship. Yeah,
Oh,
totally.
that's the tough one, letting go of friendships when there hasn't been any like true blow up. I can't say that I haven't had any friendships end this year, although I have let people go, which I think probably sounds weird in some ways, but I'm still on good terms with these people. I have no animosity towards them. It's just it's how I'm prioritizing them in my life. That's the best way of putting it, is they're not as high of a priority as they once were. And I think that's okay. My highest priority is my family. And so that's what this year really has been, is just a reprioritizing of the things that are most important to me. So that's one of the things that I'm taking into 2025, is this clearer view on my priorities and the people and the things that are most important to me. And that's where I'm going to be putting my energy. So what are some of the things that are on your, well, you don't do goals. So what are you?
I do have some
Okay.
goals for next year. And I don't really know. I was really thinking about, I feel like I have better goals for my career than my personal life.
Okay.
Like my personal life still feels kind of vague. Actually, no, both feel kind of vague. Like I think I struggle with goal setting because I don't have a solid vision for direction for exactly where my life is going next year. I have some big changes coming up and I just feel kind of in transition, and that makes it hard for me to like have a target. But I would say I did sit down and come up with an overall purpose, and I do have some goal metrics and stuff, which is fun. And I will be interested to see, since I haven't done this kind of goal setting where I have like numbers involved and stuff. It will be interesting to see how this goes by the end of the year review for 2025. But I'll tell you what I decided my purpose is for right now, for myself. And that is to live joyfully, integrate peace and stability in my life.
Ooh.
I think I've been pretty good at living joyfully overall. I haven't felt like my life has been very peaceful or stable for a really long time. And so that's what I really, really want, and why. It's like my why I'm going to like goal set and try and stick to some certain focuses next year. I want a thriving business that feels like very driven by systems. And that's been something I've struggled a little bit with this year, I'd say. And as far as like kind of more personal goals, like this is where maybe therapist Bekah can help me a little bit, because I want to cultivate meaningful relationships next year. I want to prioritize love and connection, but I don't really know what direction to go with that anymore. So I think what I kind of decided my focus would be on prioritizing having really amazing, unforgettable shared experiences with people.
Ooh.
Because I didn't know if I should go in a romantic direction or a friend direction, because I just feel kind of burnt out on like looking for love, but I do really want a life partner. I think it would be a shame to never have like a great love, but I also don't want that to be my entire focus either. So I don't really know where to like land on that. You know, maybe traveling and creating shared experiences with people, whatever that looks like. That's kind of where I am for now.
Okay.
I don't know.
But I love that. I love that this is an area that you're wanting to maybe expand in. Because community is something that's been really important to me. And that is one of my big goals for 2025, is to continue building and expanding the communities that I've started here in Washington and in 2024. So part of that is this young adults group of, helping with social events and getting that kind of started on the social side. And it's gotten to the point that other people are taking the initiative on creating social activities. So it's no longer all on me. It's definitely more of a community thing that we're growing here in this Seattle Tacoma area, which I'm very excited about. And so, like, that's the really big thing. That's something where I find a lot of joy, is bringing people together.
It's really fun too when I see like your Instagram stories of like all of your little like community
my little
stuff and
things.
your small groups and stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure, and I don't have any like stats. I love a
I
stat
know.
for the podcast. I wasn't prepared, but I'm pretty sure that is what they say make humans live the longest, is the people who are. It's not the people, believe it or not. Again, we don't really fact check ourselves, so. But it's not the people who like necessarily eat the healthiest or like there are people who live a long time who drink and smoke and do all the things that we know are bad for our health, but they live in such community, I think, for most of their life, and like what that can do for your health.
Joyful community.
Joyful community, like
Who
that's
you
a big
surround
thing.
yourself
So
with matters.
yeah,
So again, no more energy vampires for 2025. We are surrounding ourselves with people who edify us, people who we can have good synergy with, whether that's in your business life, personal life, dating life, choosing a good life partner or temporary partner, however you decide to do your goals. That's all, I guess. Synergy, maybe that's my word for 2025 is
synergy.
It's all about this synergy.
It's a good word, but it also kind of feels like one of those corporate words
I
that they use a
know.
lot too. That everybody's like, what does that mean? But I like it,
I'm all about growth.
I like that for you.
I'm all about a growth
Yes.
mindset in 2025.
By the way, I think if you have nothing to talk about and you're at a holiday party, you want to sound impressive to people, I think you just start talking about like synergy and stuff.
We
It's
gotta
like one of those good words to throw
synergize
out.
the
Because like it really makes sense, but it also confuses people sometimes. Okay, I'm going on a tangent. Okay, one of the other things that I did think about to kind of like guide my 2025 and my purpose and the rest of my life, I'll reevaluate maybe at the end of next year, was I really wanted to think about what my legacy would be too. So I did think about that over the past week. And at least where I'm sitting right now, I feel like I want to leave a legacy where I inspire others to live really, really boldly and really authentically and with purpose. So I kind of put that in my business plan for next year too.
I love
as
it.
like as my why. And maybe, help people realize that you can take all the hard things that you've been through in life and still live boldly and with purpose and let that be a strength and not a weakness.
Yeah.
Because that's something that, when people can be really authentic and show vulnerability with other people, I think that can be a really powerful, powerful thing. And so I kind of want to be that for some people.
Yeah. It's a great way
But-
to redeem the situation or redeem the experience of, these, whatever things like our past does not define us. And there's so much that can be learned from the different lessons and the different experiences that we go through in life. And being able to take our experience and uniquely impact and relate with a person in a way that somebody else who hasn't had those same experiences is so huge. That's why we need people. It's why it's good that we're all different and have different experiences, because I cannot relate with a person the same way that Amber does, and Amber can't the same way that I do, or with any of our listeners or anybody else out there. We all have unique perspectives and experiences, and we need all of these perspectives.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have any like funny, random, or profound things you learned this year?
Random,
think I learned
funny,
the
or
best.
profound things that I learned?
Yeah. I think I learned that the best kind of love is self-love, but also like tacos are really good love too.
Did you learn that from
I'm
one of the boys on Hinge from their profile?
I did not. I just have been eating a lot of Mexican food lately, and I'm like, sometimes self-love is a taco. Sometimes success is just like making it to 5 p.m., getting through your workday. That's something that I learned. Let's see. I think I've learned a lot about like the power of letting go this year too, and that's something I'm going to continue into 2025. Like letting go of stuff. I'm doing a big downsize of my life right now. Letting go of people and relationships that no longer serve me. Letting go of the ideas I thought of what my life would look like, and realizing every time I do let things go, like my life gets so much better. I don't want to lose any more of my life holding on to things that don't serve me.
Good. Don't.
Yeah.
So I
And
don't know if you know this, Amber, that I have a plan to summit Mount Rainier in this upcoming year. That's
I feel like you told me that.
I mean, you're not hearing it first.
think.
If you follow me on Instagram, I've definitely talked about this.
Okay, maybe I saw it on Instagram too. All right.
So, I mean, that was part of the reason why I wanted to do 200 workouts, and I like did all this hiking this year. Start the hiking group is to get myself in training and conditioning for this, plan to summit a mountain, because why not? Why not go climb a freaking mountain? In this case, it's a volcano, but, why not? And I told a man this plan on a first
A
date.
man.
I know.
I like how she said-
It was the first date, talking about our goals and our plans for, next year and life and all that. I was like, yeah, I'm going to climb Mount Rainier. And he,
Wait, can I ask a question before we get the man's
Yes.
response? Sorry to interrupt. I love a good interruption. Just for me and other people listening who don't know as much about Mount Rainier, like, what does this like entail? Is this like a multi-day trek? Is this like a backpack? Is this like a one day? Like, what is?
yes. So
Is this like an Everest, or is this like a
it's not as intense as Everest. It's
little hill, or where on the
Well,
spectrum?
let me look it up. Let me look up the stats, because I didn't look up how tall it is. It has glaciers. So that's the dangerous
Oh.
part of it, is that
Glaciers. You're gonna be hiking
I'm
on
gonna be
glaciers.
hiking on glaciers. I'm gonna have to do
Okay.
like some mountaineering training. I got to learn how to, save others and myself from a crevasse.
And will you be camping on this mountain?
Yes.
While it's like you hike and then like
Yeah.
camp.
So we
and then
hike up to the
Okay,
base
so this
camp.
is a lot.
We camp, and then the next day
We have base camp. All you got to say was there's a base camp.
there's a base camp,
Got
and
it.
then the
Okay.
next day we attempt to summit it. But depending on the weather and conditions, you may not be safe enough to do it. So
Got
it's
it.
height.
Got it.
It's a 14er, and it's. I mean, I guess that's the best way of it. It's a 14er, but one of the big differences with it compared to others that you find in like Colorado is that it has the glaciers, and they do recommend having a guide to take you through it so that you know like the safe paths and trails. So that's one of the things that I've been planning this year, is getting a group together to go next year.
Right.
So
Okay.
So I'm telling this
Thank you.
man about this.
Okay, we're back on this date.
Yeah.
Is this a Hinge?
This is a
Two
Hinge
Girls
date.
in the Market experiment
Yes,
date. Okay.
yes. He's a lawyer in Seattle. I've given him a lot of information about this guy. But you'd think he'd be a little bit more progressive, all things considered. And so I tell him this, and he gives me this look of disdain. And he's like, well, my uncle tried to do it twice, so like you probably won't be able to do it. And I was just like, oh, I'm going to do it. So it's not my fault that your uncle is a wuss, but this girl is going to climb this mountain.
Okay, I just feel like #women in male fields. Imagine if a man said to you that his goal next year is to hike Mount Rainier. Rainier?
Mhm.
Did I say it
Rainier.
right? Mount Rainier. And you're like, well, my aunt tried to do it twice.
And failed.
So, like, can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That's just like where my head
There was no
goes.
second date, for obvious reasons.
His loss, your gain on that one.
So I will be clipping this audio and putting it on that reel that I make when I do climb the mountain. And I'll just be like,
I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Hopefully this man still follows you. By the way, nobody is a more dedicated social media follower than the men who you dated who it didn't work out with. Like, they are a social media follower for life. Please tell me I'm not the only girl in the market who experiences that. Like, you are watching my stories for the rest of my life, sending those hard eyes fire emojis. Like, can't text me back, but you are within 2 seconds.
There's one guy who we had matched, we had gone out, and I told him I was not interested for like a slew of reasons. And he started following, like, this was last year. And then he recently started following me, and I was like, does he not know who I am? Like, we had a whole fight. And then he's like trying to DM me, and I'm like, sir, I don't respect you. We're still trying to figure your life out at almost 40. Like, this is not going to work at all.
Becca, it's like what I finally realized about men is they just like, they don't care. The things that they do, like truly the audacity of men, I would be like embarrassed to do. They do, and they're not unbothered about it. They're just like, whatever, I'm bored. I'm just gonna be like, I'm just gonna like watch her on Instagram out so obviously.
It was weird.
Even though I ghosted her or like I was rude or we didn't hit it off. I just think it's so funny how they just operate so differently. DMing you,
I mean, let's be
following you. They just don't care.
He didn't ghost me.
Or he doesn't remember.
It was a very clear, I am not interested in you because you are extremely emotional and all these different things. And then he's like, I don't understand why you think I'm too emotional. And then he was very emotional.
Which, by the way, that was almost a hashtag women in male fields thing of you because he's too emotional.
He was.
I love it.
Like, it was a lot. It was a lot of weird stuff in our conversations. And I'm like, there's too many red flags. This is going to be like too much of a handful to deal with. You know, energy vampires. Like, this is
Hilarious.
energy
I
vampires.
cannot wait to meet the man that I get to feel like I can say they're too emotional for me. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like you've already
men are,
dated
like,
a few of those.
No, they tell me I'm too emotional. I'm just too much for them. Go find less.
Yeah.
That's what I tell them in the end. Nobody, by the way, nobody should ever tell you you're too anything. Even Becca telling this guy, although for sure he was, and like whatever she said, he deserved it. And
I said it very
fully
nicely. I want to be very
support.
clear. I said it very nicely, and then he
Yes.
reacted very poorly. And I was like, why are you making me double down on this? Like, now I have to be mean because you're... Anyways.
No. You did no wrong,
Never.
Becca. I'm just saying.
I could do no wrong, right?
Absolutely not. Women do no wrong, but we're not too anything for anyone. We just got to find the right people. That's my thing. Yeah. Not a good match. But does he still follow you?
I don't...
He probably
Let-
does. We're
let
gonna
me
assume
see.
that he probably
I
does.
gotta go into my request.
Oh gosh, that's gonna be like a
I know. It's a scary place.
dark place with too many notifications. I can't even imagine like how many unread. I get anxiety thinking about all the unread notifications. We're going into New
He
Year,
does.
Same. He does, of course. Like they don't care.
But why?
The audacity.
But why?
Because no one becomes a more loyal social media follower than the graveyard of hinge dates. Truly. I'm sure a lot more of them follow you that you don't even realize.
It's possible. I don't keep track of these things. Listen, I've hardly kept, like, my social media, as you can see, has not been very active this year. The last 6 months, it's not been super active. There's been a lot of other things going on.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 big projects that I've been working on. So, I mean, yes, sometimes if I'm not posting on social media, it's because I'm sad and dealing with some extra stuff. And social media is not a top priority. Other times it's because I'm busy and it's, again, not a top priority. But I've been working on these 2 big projects. One is personal and one is business. And I can't talk about them yet, but they're 2025 projects. And I'm
Brutal.
hoping...
This is brutal for the audience.
I know. I'm hoping in January, though, that I will be
Okay.
able to talk about them openly because they will be like all confirmed and or launched. So very excited about these things that are coming up
Very, very
in
exciting.
January 2025, ideally.
Yeah. Which probably honestly might be when most people are listening to this. So you won't have to wait long,
That's true.
people.
You may only have to wait
Hopefully.
a few days, few weeks. Who knows?
Wow. I feel like it was just the year 2000. Like, do you remember Y2K? Like,
I do.
how was that 25 years ago?
Gross.
That's nuts. Well, this year I held my ground. It was wild. It tested me, humbled me, made me laugh too hard sometimes at things I probably shouldn't have. So 2024, thanks for all the lessons. Don't ever pull that again, please.
Yeah.
What are your final thoughts for the year? What do you have to say to 2024?
2024, you have been a year full of joy and grief and anxiety and healing and opportunities. And I am so glad that we survived you. Thanks for the memories. Don't want to do this year again. I don't know. There's parts of it I would do again. I'm thankful for those life lessons. I started the year with high hopes for what the year would be. It ended up being different, but I'm ending it with a lot of joy and satisfaction and a feeling of completion. And I'm looking forward to 2025.
Well, the clock's going to reset at midnight soon, so you got another chance. We all got another chance. And it's not really about, like, new year, new me, new whatever. It's really just, like, new year, same me, but deciding to show up every day for myself. So I think here's to doing that and making 2025 ours. And I'm so excited to see what we do with the girls in the market in 2025.
Yeah. Well, let us know in the
Whatever.
comments some of the goals that you guys have, or highs and lows of 2024, what you're wanting to leave here and what you want to pick up in 2025. And maybe some of the things that you want to see more of from the girls in the market. You can always DM us at 2 Girls in the Market. Leave us a comment, shoot us a message. You can find me at Homes with Bekah, and you can also find Amber Haley at Amber.
Haley.Hawaii.
I'll remember it someday. Maybe that'll be a
Someday.
2025 thing.
Putting it on her New Year's resolutions. But
No.
I have one final thought to leave everyone with. Don't forget, selling a house is a lot like dating, because they both require a lot of confidence, negotiation, and just knowing sometimes when to walk away.
It's true.
We'll see you in 2025.
See y'all next year.